It's Friday, 9 a.m. on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. My name is Mark Snider, and this is Chamber Chatter, a monthly roundtable discussion with today's Long Island business leaders. It has been underwritten by MapTunes, Long Island Chamber Maps. My business leaders with me today, joining us via Zoom technology, are Melissa Ferms, president of the small but mighty Copiague Chamber of Commerce. Nice to see you again, Melissa. Charlie Lefkowitz, he's the president of the Three Village Chamber of Commerce, and Bob Kern, who is the president of the Riverhead Chamber of Commerce. Melissa, Charlie, and Bob, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us this Friday morning on Chamber Chatter. What I have for our listeners today are three chambers from Suffolk County, one from the North Shore, Three Village, one from the East End, Riverhead, and one from the South Shore in Western Suffolk County, Copiague. So let's start with you, Charlie. You're the president of the Three Village Chamber of Commerce, which actually serves 6 communities, as I checked: Stony Brook, Oldfield, Setauket, East Setauket, South Setauket, and Poquat. Is that correct? 7? That's 7. All right, so I'm a little confused, and I'm thinking maybe our listeners are a little confused. What are the 3 villages that make up your chamber?
Well, we look at it as Stony Brook, Setauket, and East Setauket are the hamlets in the town of Brookhaven. But it also includes the South Setauket, which unfortunately has a different zip code, not even a Setauket zip code, and the villages of Oldfield and Poquat. But yes, it's the home of Stony Brook University. Our chamber was founded in 1976. We have an 18-member board. We have an executive director, Jane Taylor, who has been our executive director for the last several years. We have an executive committee of 6 members. And again, we are home to Stony Brook University. That is our economic engine in the Three Village Chamber of Commerce. Many of the university staff and departments are members of the Chamber of Commerce. And currently we have about 150 paying active members of the chamber. We probably have another 250 people in the community that call themselves members of the Chamber of Commerce. And, you know, our primary goal is really to protect and promote business, small, large, within the community. And, you know, during these times, especially advocating for our business owners along our main streets.
So I'll tell you a funny story. I have a brother that lives in East Setauket. And in preparation for this program, I called him and I said, what's the difference between East Setauket, South Setauket, and Setauket? And he responded immediately, I have no idea. So here's a guy who lives there. You tell me, how do you see the difference in those 3 communities?
Well, I am actually the first Ward Melville graduate to serve as president of the Chamber of Commerce. So I grew up in the community my whole life. Stony Brook Village is 11790. Setauket and East Setauket is 11733. And there's a dividing line that runs supposedly along 25A, which separates north and south. And that is the difference between Setauket and Setauket. When we talk about Setauket, many of you have been to our historic green with the Caroline Church, the Presbyterian Church, the MS Clark Library. That is really downtown Setauket. And East Setauket is really our central business corridor along the 25A area, which is really the south side of 25A. And, you know, Stony Brook is defined by the university, Old Stony Brook, and a large subdivision of the Levitt homes in Strathmore.
My brother did say the distinction between the 3 Setaukets is that the best people live in East Setauket, where he lives.
So, yeah, that's always a long-running joke, and you know, we're just so fortunate to live in such a wonderful community. I think anywhere, any place you live within the 3 villages, it's a real special place. And, you know, if you have a relative that lives there, you probably visited and you know why.
Yes. Talk to my audience for a second about the challenges of serving so many distinct communities. Most chambers represent one or two. You're representing a large number of communities here. Does it pose any additional challenge for you?
Well, it doesn't, in the sense that that community is served by one school district. And we work a lot with the local high school and the local school district on many events. But the challenges are, working with such a large member as Stony Brook University. Before pre-pandemic, 50,000 people would be up at the university every single day. They had a student body of somewhere around 20 to 25,000 students, undergraduate. You had University Hospital, and you had all the ancillary businesses that were on campus. So, in itself, Stony Brook University is, on a daily basis, it's its own city. Getting that city and the local community to work together, to live and do business together, really took 20 years of work by, the founding fathers of our Chamber of Commerce. Many years ago, I worked for the town of Brookhaven, and I was approached by some of the chamber representatives saying there's a real disconnect in the community. There was ongoing problems with the growth of Stony Brook University. There was some ongoing anti-business sentiment from a local civic association. And, this chamber board, our current board, has healed a lot of that miscommunication and misinformation that may have existed between groups that just were not always so pro-business. We've made our community a better place, certainly to do business and certainly to live with those efforts. And, I sit on a lot of different boards, and I really have to say is my 18-member chamber board is probably the greatest board I've ever served with.
Wow.
That's a big statement.
That's a nice sized board, right, Melissa?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Melissa, I know your town and chamber pretty well. As I mentioned in the open, you're a small but significant group who somehow manages to get a lot done with a limited amount of very dedicated people. You recently replaced a president who served for 12 years in that role. A shout out to my friend Sharon Fataruso. What has it been like for you replacing someone of that stature?
Well, you can't replace Sharon. Sharon Fataruso is a force. She helped open the doors for a lot of things. I'm hearing Charlie talk right now, and Copiague is so tiny. We're so small compared to all of that you're talking about. This is I feel like I'm a resident also of Copiague. You could throw a stone across the whole thing, but a lot happens. A lot happens in a small place, and it's a busy place, and there's so many things that you wouldn't we can discover. We can work on the details, and Sharon did those details. And I've been working with Sharon for 10 years on the board myself, in different positions. So I was able to, see her talents, the grace that she brings to everything. She focuses on every flower that gets put in those planters, like she puts them in the planters. She does that kind of work. So replacing her has been, a transition for the board. She was there for a very long time. I have a bit of a different leadership style. But she celebrates it, and she's been really a cheerleader for me and helping me with this moving forward with the group. I would say, and we have about 11 members now on our board. But it is small but mighty.
Yeah. Copiague is one of 16 villages and hamlets that make up the Babylon Township. And one of the areas where the Copiague Chamber really excels, in my opinion, is your relationship with Town Supervisor Rich Schaefer. Talk to me for a second about how that has benefited your chamber over the years.
Well, I didn't even, notice how I thought that's just how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to have this really great relationship with the town, and we just do. The way it's benefited us is that, there's open communication. Anytime we're doing even the smallest function, we can talk to Rich Schaefer, we can talk to the town, and they get behind it. A small networking night that we want to have, they'll get behind it. I think that really adds to the value of what we're able to offer in those meetings. I think it also, showcases, some of the things that we want to get done. We have gotten a lot of things done, that are, vanity, you could say, but, to really build up, if you want to have a strong business and a nice place to come to and to shop, and, it's got to look good. So we've got, 2 great, beautiful new signs that we have. We have a corner that we got to be able to clean up, a brand new clock. And these things are pretty special to our town. And I don't think that without that relationship or that help or guidance on how to get these things done. And a small place like this, you have to understand, we don't have a mayor. So we talk about we don't have a mayor to advocate for these things where other towns do. So we have to be the advocate that goes and makes that relationship to make these things happen.
I guess Rich Schaefer is your mayor in a sense, right?
Well, Rich Schaefer makes me feel like I'm the mayor of Copiague.
Makes you feel, that's good.
Yeah, so.
I have worked with a lot of chambers over the years, and I will tell you, it's not that common to have the kind of relationship that I have watched you have with Rich Schaefer. He has really taken you guys, because you're not an incorporated village, and he's really taken you under his wing and gotten a lot accomplished for you. So my hat's off to you guys for that.
We're very thankful.
Bob, as I mentioned when we spoke, my very first job out of college was as a disc jockey at a rock station located on Main Street in Riverhead. Obviously, the town has changed dramatically since 1983 when I first got that job. And now you're the president of the very large Riverhead Chamber of Commerce, not only in size of your membership, but also geographically, the Riverhead Township, not to be confused with the hamlet of Riverhead. You cover another 7 or 8 zip codes there. Tell me a little bit about your experience running the Riverhead Chamber of Commerce. And do you include all those surrounding businesses in your chamber, or is your chamber exclusive to the businesses in the hamlet?
No, actually, we're more like Charlie. We have 9 hamlets. We have.
What did I say? 7 to 8? Okay, now you have 9. Okay.
We have 9, and so we cover all 9 of them. And we work very closely with the Business Improvement District, and which is something that happened when I became president. And we are strong advocates for the community, anything that's going on in the community, the business community, and also tourism. Tourism is a big thing out here. We have farms, a lot of them. We have over 3,000 acres of farmland, and it's important, I think, for everyone listening to this, that farms used to start in Brooklyn and Queens.
Yeah.
And some of these farmers out here, there's one that I know has been here for 300 years. And I'm not exaggerating, places like Schmidt's Farms and Rock Camps, they actually were farming up in the Schmidt's were in Queens. And as development happened, they had to keep coming east to buy land and east to buy land and to continue farming. So it's very, very interesting. We're extremely protective of what we have out here. And yeah, so I don't know what else to say. We do a lot of advocating. There's been our downtown is going through a revitalization right now, and we're looking forward to that happening over the next couple of years.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll have more questions for you. And here's one. As the COVID-19 vaccines in New York State continue to roll out, Johnson & Johnson's one-shot vaccine should really speed up this entire process. President Biden has suggested that the month of May is now a realistic time for all Americans who want a vaccine to get one. And as more people start getting vaccinated on Long Island, myself included, I'm sensing a lot of excitement and optimism, both from businesses and the residents, my neighbors, people I talk to. So, Bob, I'll come right back to you. Summertime is a busy time in Riverhead. What do you have on the chamber schedule, obviously with fingers crossed?
Well, we put together a show with the bid. It's called Reflections. We took an underutilized 3.5 acre park down that's in just in downtown Riverhead and created a sculpture show that's lit up at night. And it's really quite fascinating, really, really cool. We had 6,000 people attend pre-COVID over 4 nights. And the other thing that we have is we have a cardboard boat race where people make cardboard boats, and then we race them in the river, which is pretty exciting. You know, so where the bay comes in the canal, and that's a huge event. And we also have what's called Live on 25. It's very similar to Patchogue. We made an agreement with Patchogue years ago because they were getting so busy. We went every other Thursday night, and that's been a huge attraction for us.
Great. Now, cardboard is basically paper, and paper doesn't do too well in water. How do these boats, as a little sidebar here, how do these boats float in the water? They're made out of cardboard? They're
made out of cardboard and duct tape. So you duct tape the cardboard together, and it's fascinating to watch because you'll get groups of, you know, there might be one kid in one boat, and he's basically paddling a cardboard box, and you'll get as many as 6 people in a cardboard pirate ship, and not everybody makes it. You know, you go around a little buoy and you come back. And I can't even tell you, there's probably kids as young as like 6, and it goes all the way up in age.
I think I'd like to come out for that. Melissa, what are your expectations for the Copiague business community over the next 6 months? Do you have plans scheduled, or are you a little tentative about making any plans?
I mean, I really see things, you know, we're planning. I mean, everybody's planning as if things are going to happen. That's the only way you're going to make it happen, is if you have those plans in place. You know, for us, is again, you know, the park is Tanner Park is the jewel of the South Shore over there by us, and it's right here in Copiague. I actually live a mile from it, and we're planning all of our events and things and activities that are going to be happening and bringing people to the area for the park. So we do intend to have those concerts, summer concerts, and those types of things that go on and really stimulate the activity in our area.
So you guys are moving forward.
Yes.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Charlie, in your mind, what does the summer of 2021 look like for the Three Village Chamber?
Yes, we're actually planning to hold our annual June awards dinner outside on the lawn in front of the Three Village Inn. We're going to have the Jazz Loft of Stony Brook do some music, and we're working on that right now. We've been really working and promoting our workshops remotely. Our meetings have all been being held remotely, but we feel like by the end of June, we should be able to meet in person. And then every August, we have a summer beach party, generally geared towards family and children at West Meadow Beach in Stony Brook. We usually have 600 or 700 attendees to that event. The town of Brookhaven, and yes, we work closely also with the town of Brookhaven. We also have a great supervisor here, Ed Romaine, like Rich Schaefer. You know, they're really dean of the Suffolk supervisors, and they work closely with their chambers. So the town has, put that permit on hold. Hopefully we'll be holding this event. We've held it for the last 21 years. We had to cancel it last year. And then in the fall, we're looking to also have some kind of fall festival, return back to business. So, we're feeling better about where business is heading. It seems like Albany is finally getting the message that you need to let our restaurants open. You need to push the hours and capacity, and especially the small businesses that have been really lost because there's no definition of really what they do. The indoor children amusement parks, the outdoor amusement parks. I understand they'll finally, by the end of this month, be able to open in some kind of limited capacity. We have a few members that have those type of businesses. So it's signs are pointing in the right direction, and we're very optimistic about the future.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, I'm vaccinated and I am raring to go. And I think there's a lot of pent up excitement and enthusiasm for this to happen.
Agreed.
All right, we're gonna step out for a quick break to tell you about some of the other wonderful programs we have on WCWP. But when we return, we're gonna play Genie in a Bottle with our guests, and we're gonna find out what 3 wishes they have for their Chamber of Commerce. This is Chamber Chatter on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. You know, those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
This is Chamber Chatter on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. My name is Mark Snider. Chamber Chatter is a monthly roundtable discussion with today's Long Island business leaders, and it's been underwritten by MapTunes, Long Island Chamber Maps, and by the MapTunes Shoppers Discount app. With over 2,500 discounts island-wide, download the MapTunes app. That's MapTunes, MapToons, or simply visit shoppersdiscountcard.com. My business leaders with me today: Melissa Ferms, president of the Copiague Chamber of Commerce; Charlie Lefkowitz, president of the Three Village Chamber; and Bob Kern, president of the Riverhead Chamber of Commerce. All right, so let's play Genie in a Bottle. Our listeners tell us this is their favorite part of the show because it's where we find out what 3 wishes our guests have for their Chamber of Commerce. Melissa, let's assume a few things. Let's assume the weather is warm. Let's also assume that you're at Tanner Park overlooking the Great South Bay, as you mentioned earlier. And let's really assume that you're taking in a live concert at the wonderful band shell that you have there. And as you look onto the grass, you see a magic lantern that oddly everybody else has ignored. So you reach down, you pick it up, and when you rub on the lantern, out comes a genie. Not there to see the concert, but to grant 3 wishes for the Copiague Chamber of Commerce. What are they?
Well, the first one would be to see the concert, to have the concerts happening, and to have them all summer long, like we typically do, even more of them, because people are going to, want to enjoy those concerts there in the park. But to have our fall festival that happens every September, to bring it back, and that we have an amazing fall festival. We do it every September. It's a festival where people can bring their pets. We have a whole pet expo that goes on at the same time. So I'd love to see that as a huge success this year. So that's definitely on that wish. One of my wishes there. Another, wish I would like to see, if I could just I'd like to see restaurants all the way opening up all over Great Neck Road down in Copiague and along Montauk Highway in our area. Everybody comes out to eat, and that's a good sense that that you have a thriving community when you see those when you see people coming out and eating, and people come out to eat, they're going to shop in all the areas as well. And I also like to really see a lift in our minority-owned businesses in our town. I like to see, really, a celebration of them and bring that out to the forefront. So those would be my wishes.
Can we go back to wish number 1 for a second?
Yeah, sure.
What are you hearing about concert bookings for the summer? Is that being discussed, or?
It's being discussed. Yes, it's happening. Yes, we're in discussions or in the works.
Because that's a wonderful facility you have down there by the water. I mean,
oh my gosh,
a lot of people don't know about it, but that's another Rich Schaefer thing. Yeah.
Well, when I I'm hearing, I appreciated, both, everybody talking here about how long it takes for things to happen. And it's a long progression for this, to see this park to be, and it's where it's gotten, how beautiful it is and how up to date, how modern. And I mean, it's really just a beautiful vacation spot just to go there. So, and yes, we've had such, we're so thankful to have, good leadership, like, Richie Schaefer coming out and being able to make sure this happens for us, for the town. It's good.
And speaking of restaurants, like Riverhead, you have you're a hotbed of delicious Polish restaurants and delis.
Yes, we do. We do. There's it's all like hidden gems that you wouldn't, that you got to just experience it. You got to go in there and experience it.
Okay, thanks. Charlie, several years ago, I visited the Long Island Museum in Stony Brook to view an exhibit of master builder Robert Moses. So let's say you're at that museum and what looks like a lantern on display is actually a magic lantern, just waiting to give you 3 wishes for the 3 villages. What are you wishing for?
Well, with the Museum of Stony Brook is one of our chamber members, and we actually hold an annual breakfast or lunch there. So I think what Melissa echoed is being able to actually, go out and have our meetings, have our events, our June event, our August event, and just shake hands with people, be able to meet with our executive board in person, and the rest of the chamber membership as a whole. We're really looking forward to our August event, and it overlooks the great Long Island Sound, beautiful sunset views over Connecticut. And if on August, I think it's 8th, 9th, or 10th, that Wednesday evening, if we're all there, then that one of the dreams have come true. If you can ask me about the other 2 dreams, it's more for the community at large. We call it the drawer dreams in the 3 villages, not the genie in the bottle, but the drawer dreams for us is really getting the Long Island Railroad, the MTA, and the governor and all the elected officials in the state to finally look at the feasibility of an electric railroad between Huntington and Port Jefferson. This is something that has been talked about. One of our former chamber presidents was head of the railroad union. He advocated for that. I know now that ridership is off, but this is something that, 50, 100 years from now, if that could happen. And the third dream is another infrastructure project. It would be a municipal sewer district from the Stony Brook Yacht Club right down 25A, past the museums, through Setauket, East Setauket, and ending a little past the famous Seaport Deli. That would help our community develop properly. It'd also be great for our environment because, right now we are only on septic systems. And, unfortunately, most of that ends up in our bays and harbors. So those are the 3 dreams that I see for the 3 village community.
I want to back up for a second. In your open, you had mentioned, speaking of membership, you have 250 resident members. Is that, did I understand?
Oh, business members. We have about 150 active, people that generally show up and participate. And we have up to 250 that are, would call themselves members. At any time, they'll show up maybe for the beach party. They'll show up for the awards dinner. But we feel we're 150 members strong. But when I mean 150, I mean, those are people that actually, know who our board of directors are, come to our events. And we're actually, I believe, are the largest chamber in the town of Brookhaven. We're also members and active members. I don't know if you're familiar with the Brookhaven Coalition of Chambers.
We had the Suffolk Alliance on
a little different
several months ago, but that's a different organization.
Right. This is founded many years ago by Barbara Ransom and Lowell Sand. This is just in the town of Brookhaven. I think it's 16 or 18 chambers. And, every year there's an awards dinner. There's a Brookhaven Recovery Task Force, which our chamber is fortunate to have 3 members on that task force. So it's all the chambers in the town of Brookhaven working along with local government to assist our businesses on a reopening plan. It's helping the outdoor dining in the restaurants. Brookhaven was the first town that came up with a code. There's a no fee application that we did. And this is something that the task force was really on the forefront of. And we've had other municipalities throughout New York State reach out to Brookhaven and some of the individual chambers on how did you turn that around so fast? And can you share that documentation with us? So, that was a great organization to be part of the recovery task force.
Getting back to the Long Island Railroad, at what point on the line there does it switch from electric to diesel?
In Huntington.
And, you did mention that in Huntington. That's
Huntington. So we actually have met. We have a lobbyist who's a chamber member doing some pro bono work for us. We met with the current supervisor of Huntington, Smithtown, and Brookhaven, and we've probably spoken to all the elected officials, the former 2 state senators, the new 2 state senators, the assembly people. There isn't an elected official that is not supportive of this feasibility study. But, at $18 or $20 million a mile, it's a very expensive undertaking. So there has to be a very detailed engineering study that has to be done in this feasibility. There has to be an economic study that has to be done. And once, that data is compiled, it'll really tell, does this make sense to do? And what is the real cost of it?
You mentioned you have 250 members. Melissa, how many members in the Copiague chamber?
We have about 80 members.
80, right. Okay, Bob, what about you?
We have 200 and close to 250. Our reach is to about 600.
Wow. So you're close to 600. Did I hear that? 600 members?
Well, we have about 250 members,
right.
But we have, on and off, we continue to communicate to our members that are not members anymore.
Oh, okay. Right. Sure. All right, Bob, when I worked in Riverhead, the radio station was situated on the 2nd floor above a bar. And I can actually remember the bar being so loud that I would think to myself, this probably isn't an ideal spot for a radio station. Ownership eventually figured that out and moved the station to Melville several years later. But let's just say you're one of those people in the bar below, and instead of bringing you a beer, the bartender brings you an empty bottle. And while there's no liquid in the bottle, there's a genie in the bottle, and the genie wants to grant you 3 wishes for the Riverhead chamber. What are your 3 wishes?
Well, one of them is I would really like to see this state take young people seriously and give them the kind of funding that the schools need so they get the proper education moving into the 21st century. I think that's critical. That's one. And we just started a program with the high school called Chamber Tank, which does mimic Shark Tank. Where business people are coaching teams of students that will present. And I'm hoping that will be a huge success. Everybody's really excited about that. And I had another one that I wrote down and can't read. I want to see our chamber to continue to move into the 21st century. Because I don't know about you guys on here, but I know when I first became president, I've been president, I think, for 5 years. I'm the longest president they've had. It was kind of stagnant and not keeping up with the times. So I just hope that continues. And can I just thank Charlie for doing the outdoor permit? Because Charlie, thanks to Brookhaven, we used that exact permit that I was fortunate enough to get from Neil Foley, one of your town Brookhaven board members.
Yes, Councilman Foley represents the village of Patchogue, and they were big advocates of that. You're welcome. I'll pass that along on my recovery task force call.
No, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so there's your wishes from our guests here. When we come back, we're going to ask a leader, and that's where I stop asking the questions, and I'm going to let our guests take the mic. This is Chamber Chatter on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
This is Chamber Chatter on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Mark Snider. Chamber Chatter is a monthly roundtable discussion with today's Long Island business leaders, and it's been underwritten by MapTunes Long Island Chamber Maps. Let me reintroduce my three guests with me today. Charlie Lefkowitz, president of the Three Village Chamber of Commerce, Melissa Ferms, president of the Copiague Chamber of Commerce, and Bob Kern, president of the Riverhead Chamber. All right, it's time to ask a leader. And this is where I turn over the microphone and I let our guests ask the questions. And Melissa, you have a couple of very experienced chamber leaders on the program with you today. Do you have a question for either or both of them?
Well, I could have a lot of questions. I mean, this is some real, talent. I could learn so much from both of you, even just talking today, learning so much. But I really I would like to know how you can, what partnerships have you made with, I'm really looking at Charlie here with, Stony Brook, and you were talking about, how that sometimes could be it's a greatest challenge, but it's also a great blessing. What programs have you done specifically with a hospital like that? It's for the community or to leverage good things for the businesses in the area.
Well, one of the things we did is we try to understand what our chamber members want. And, if you drive down Nichols Road and you see those two towers, and now they built a cancer center and a children's hospital, a lot of our chamber members just didn't know, what goes on over there. So many years ago, along with some of the other St. James, Smithtown, and Port Jefferson Chamber, we would have the head of Stony Brook Hospital meet with all the chamber leaders in the lobby of the hospital and, just go over where the hospital is as far as their plans on expansion, on construction, on what kind of services that they provide for the community. We also have the public information officer for Stony Brook and the community development director for Stony Brook University Hospital on our chamber board, as well as a very senior level university official that works very closely with the president's office, is also on our board of directors. So each board member, brings a unique business background, but the ones that serve at the university really bring academia, business, and hospital relations directly to the community. And even at our board of directors meetings, what we do is we have a segment where we hear from the two university representatives, either at the beginning of the meeting or at the end of the meeting. They'll let us know what's happening on campus. We also have a newspaper editor that sits in our board of directors. And usually when the university people speak, that's the first time that anyone in the community is really getting firsthand information about what's happening on that, city within our community. And I think just establishing better lines of communication has been really helpful.
And it also sounds like that's great information that you're giving out to the community that they wouldn't have had otherwise,
Exactly. Well, and what we tried to do is, there was a lot of miscommunications with the university on what their plans were. There was a lot of housing issues within, the Three Village community with student housing that created some quality of life issues. So, the chamber, the civic association, the town of Brookhaven, and the university all really came to the table just to help have some open conversations about those issues, along with some community activists. And I think we've quelled a lot of that, miscommunication and misinformation that may be out there about what's going on.
It's nice to see the synergy between the chamber and the university, and it reminds me a lot. The Farmingdale Chamber, I've been involved with them over the years, and similar types of synergies where there are a number of people from the Farmingdale Chamber who come down from the Farmingdale University, who come down to the meetings. They give updates. They work on projects together, and it's good to see that, because I think that's important. Bob, how about you? You got a question for our leaders with us today?
Sure. I'm going to preface it with this. We've been pre-COVID working with New York State Labor Department to try and get some labor laws changed so that young people could, when I say young, 15 to 17-year-olds could get back into the workplace. Right now, with the way the current laws are written, businesses were getting fined $300 if anybody in that age range punched out for a break and they only got 14 minutes instead of 15 minutes. Businesses were fined $300. So I'm just curious, are you guys, and also the ability to make it really simple for students, say 16, 17, to do apprenticeships and internships at businesses. Have you guys faced with that at all? Or looked at that?
No, we have not. That is not an issue that has come across the Three Village Chamber's desk at this point. I can see in Riverhead you have the Splish Splash and the outlets, and I'm sure the employment of that age group is greatly affected, but we have not seen that issue in our community.
Okay, yeah, Splish Splash and the aquarium are the only two that really hire in that age range. Tanger used to, but because of the amount of fines, they stopped doing it. I just get really concerned because I think, again, you look at kids that are 13, 14, they have YouTube channels, they're very successful, they're learning how to do that, and I don't think they're given enough respect. I look at what they're doing. I was doing in my early 20s, they're doing in their teens.
And I could talk in a little bit of respect of the internships. I know that they were not, I have so many students that came and weren't able to get their internship. So we did create a pathway for them to do internships online. So we've been, we have a cohort of students that are able to do that and get that experience. But haven't come across the other layer that you're talking about there, how it's impacting their work.
I'd be curious. I'd be interested if you could share with me. I mean, if there may not be time now, but how you're doing this internship online. I'd be real interested in that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have virtual sessions that are open to the community through a process, and they're about art or storytelling. Things that would keep younger children involved, and the teens are the perfect kids to help run them. Sometimes they even learn how to, work the Zoom real well, be a good Zoom co-host, and help, orchestrate the sessions and get that experience.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, Charlie, a question for Riverhead, Copiague, or both?
Oh, I'll throw it out there to both. Certainly in the last 12 months, our programming on a monthly basis and our meetings have really changed. We've gone to this Zoom format. How do you see both of your chambers presenting programming, interesting topics of discussion for chamber members on a monthly basis? And, how do you grow your membership and show value to the local businesses to encourage them to continue to renew and support the local chambers? That's one of our obstacles. We're always faced with that challenge.
It's a great question. Who wants to take it?
Alyssa, I mean, go ahead. All right, so I'll start. So Charlie, one of the things that we did, we were medics to small businesses and to help them through this process how to pivot, how to get on, early on with online, etc. And even had some restaurants that did, they packaged food and sold boxes of food. We continue with Zoom. We are starting this month. We will go back to live networking. We're doing both a Zoom networking and a live networking. And one of our board members, he's great. He's like played host on Zoom meetings. And normally Zoom meetings are really boring. I can tell you they go on for an hour and a half, 2 hours, because people are having so much fun. There's also, there's a game, and I think it's called Kahoot. I will find it for you, but it's really, really excellent. What it does is it allows a business owner to ask questions, and everybody participates. So it's a game, and it's really wild. But what they're doing is actually educating you about their business. Okay, and at the end they gave prizes out to people. And I have to, again, I was shocked because, you get on these Zoom calls, not this one per se, but, you get on Zoom calls and you sit there and you say, when is this going to be over? But we've had a lot of exciting Zoom calls. And when people, and it doesn't matter the size of them, I've always been a proponent of quality is much more important than quantity. So even if 8 people get on, if you do a networking thing and you got 40 people, you really touch a little bit with everybody, right? But when you're on with 8 people, you really dive deeper, and all of a sudden that relationship gets larger. That's been our experience.
Melissa, you were nodding your head. Are you familiar with Kahoot?
Well, yes, we do Kahoot. That's one of the things that the students are doing, right? They're doing Kahoot all the time. But we have a Friday night bingo show where all the businesses can be involved. It's on Zoom. We're addicted to this Friday night show. Every business gets to put a prize on the, in the box, and we talk about it, and every business gets to come on and talk. Like, I know that we're going to keep doing this, pandemic, no pandemic. We're going to keep doing this every Friday night. And we also did drive-in movie nights in our Ace Hardware is our big partner. For the, they opened up this lot. And so we do a drive-in for everybody comes out, and we do commercials, and we, with the kids and everything, set up and made commercials for all of the businesses. And we broadcast the commercials during intermission. And then we set up tents along the side of the building for all the businesses to be able to, just keep it open, keep it lively, bring out some of the pizza places, keep it connected. I'm not sure if that was exactly your question of like the value, but that was how we kept the value going during this time. And those are things like, I don't know if we could give some of that up, especially, we really got some good things going with that.
Well, I will say that one of the things, sort of common thread throughout this pandemic that I'm hearing from chambers on this program is that they're finding these Zoom meetings are better attended and more productive than the general meetings they used to have. Now, you hear it once, you go, okay, but you start to hear it 2, 3, 4, 5 times from different presidents, and you say, you know what, maybe there's something to it. A Zoom meeting is a heck of a lot easier. I mean, you're all sitting in your offices or wherever talking to our audience. There may be something to it.
Well, we spoke about that because if we have a chamber luncheon at an hour and a half, it's 15 minutes to shut your computer off, get out of the office, another 10 or 15 minutes to drive to the meeting. And then it generally starts a little late. So that hour and a half meeting could be turning into 2.5 or 3 hours of time. And, the efficiency of doing things, especially our board meetings, I'd like to, know with the other chambers, we're redoing our bylaws. Just knowing that Zoom meetings will be an official meeting, taking votes over Zoom or by email will constitute a real vote. We've been struggling with that. And if anyone could share any, bylaw updates that they've done with their chambers, we're certainly would love to hear from both of you on that issue also.
Any bylaw changes to talk about?
Yeah, 2 years ago, what we did was we made voting by email and it didn't have to be unanimous. It was majority. We put that into our bylaws to, include electronic voting, which would, and now you're mentioning Zooms, we probably should slip that in there as well.
So that's what we're struggling with, that overhaul of both.
Just sounds like we need an update. That's what that sounds like.
Hey, Bob, I want to shift gears for a second here. You've been president for 5 years now. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the role of the Chamber of Commerce. In my travels as a salesman, I have come across so many businesses who either A, never heard of the Chamber of Commerce, B, they've heard of a chamber, but they've never been approached to join. C, they were members years ago, had a falling out with someone in the group and left and never came back. And D, and I hear this from time to time, they think the Chamber of Commerce is a bank. Now, I'm going to make a sweeping generalization here, but I'll ask you this question. Why wouldn't a business want to be part of their local Chamber of Commerce?
I think the answer to that question is it's really up to the chambers to promote what they do. And advocating is a big deal. For one, I mean, we have a list of things that we do for businesses, but advocating for businesses, because, we've seen changes of administrations come in, and they might be business friendly, not business friendly, et cetera, et cetera. Through our chamber, we started a business advisory committee with the town of Riverhead, because it became absolutely necessary because of, people have problems and they would come to us, and we would get new members. They didn't realize what we did. And, so it just, but I think the big, to go back to what I said, I think it's really on the shoulders of the chambers to get the word out as to what they do for the community and, for the business community. Again, we started in 1959, and in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, chambers were really important entities. Now we're in the electronic space. They're still really, really important, and they're extremely relevant. Everybody does networking stuff. And we, not only that, but we bring, top people to business, to lunches, to breakfast, to dinners, to share their expertise with our chamber members. So I think that, it's the best I can describe it right now. We do so much, it's hard for me to remember all of it.
All right. We still have a few minutes remaining. So as always, I'd like to give our guests the opportunity to talk a little bit about what they do when they're not leading their Chamber of Commerce, which takes up a lot of their time. But Melissa, tell us about your day job.
Well, I'm the president and founder of Kids Need More, which is a nonprofit organization that serves children and families coping with the trauma of serious illness. We run camp programs. Actually, we have a 30-year-old sleepaway camp program for children with cancer and their siblings. I'm a social worker, and I used, and that's how I got involved with the chamber from the start, as a social worker. And then I had no idea that I would be in this zone here leading the chamber. But I think it gives an interesting, balance of looking at it from that perspective. So,
Charlie, as the Who once asked, who are you?
So putting the hat on, I am the president of multiple commercial and residential real estate companies. Third-party management real estate company, that's Camco Services of New York. Lewis Lefkowitz Realty, which is a fourth-generation commercial, primarily retail in the boroughs, ownership of retail business. And then there's Calco Development, which is based out in Port Jefferson. We're working on some suburban renewal projects, some multifamily, some affordable housing, first-generation housing, building housing for young people to stay in the communities. And then Realty 3, which is a partnership with my brother and brother-in-law. And we've done some industrial development. Now we're building some public storage facilities, both in the town of Islip and the town of Brookhaven. So it's a mirror of lots of commercial and residential real estate companies. I have a staff of 33. We have offices both in Jericho, and most of our staff is in Port Jefferson Station.
So the real question for Charlie is, when does he sleep, right?
Lucky.
Bob, tell us
employees.
Bob, tell us a little bit more about yourself
Um,
in the last 30 seconds here or so.
okay, so I've had several companies in my life, from advertising agency, apparel company, computer business, biotech company, and a couple of more that I don't even remember what they were. But right now, really involved in community equity. I do a lot of consulting, marketing consulting, strategizing, and I would say I'm more of an opportunity engineer, finding where the opportunities are and engineering them. And Charlie, I'm really interested in how you're doing. If we could connect some time on first-time home ownership, which I think is critical for Long Island.
Yes, and I want to speak to you about the municipal sewer in downtown Riverhead and some of the federal money that Riverhead received on that project.
Sure.
Okay. That was fun. Thanks. My three guests today: Melissa Ferms, president of the small but mighty Copiague Chamber of Commerce; Charlie Lefkowitz, president of the Three Village Chamber; and Bob Kern, president of the Riverhead Chamber of Commerce. You've been listening to Chamber Chatter on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Chamber Chatter is also available as a podcast. Visit WCWP.org/Chamber Chatter, and also on YouTube. Search WCWP Studios. Chamber Chatter has been underwritten by MapTunes, Long Island Chamber Maps. Special thanks to my good friend Dan Cox. He is the director of broadcasting at WCWP, and Audrey Varnes, my engineer for today's program. Also a shout out to Rick Walsh from our Chamber Chatter affiliate in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, who joins us today via Zoom to check things out. My name is Mark Snider. Remember to always keep your local businesses in mind when making your purchasing decisions. Coming up next, Project Independence and You. Have a fun weekend, everyone.